Hi, you are listening to Manifesting with Morgan and Madeline.
Today we are going to be talking about a concept which you call channeling or being a channel. I call vessel. It means the same thing.
Yep.
And how to apply that to manifesting. So I'm going to let you take the lead in explaining exactly what we mean by being a channel or a vessel.
Okay. Let me think of how I want to explain that. I mean, I would start at a basic level probably and just we are all composed of matter.
Yes.
Me, you, the earth, animals, plants, objects, everything. When we are not on the same frequency, there are blockages.
Okay.
Okay. So being a channel or a vessel for me means releasing all those blockages and allowing your energy to flow like a highway.
Yeah.
Like it's moving through you. It's not stopping.
Yeah.
It's able to come in and go out, come in and go out like a flow.
And that's kind of the definition of being a channel or a vessel is like something that can receive something and it can flow through it and out of it.
Yes.
And when it comes to the what you're saying about we're all matter and we're all vibrational, like everything is composed of matter that's
Right.
vibrating, and there's actually space between every particle, every piece of matter, and that's where the energetic flow happens.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're on the same page.
Yeah. I think so.
We're not quantum physicists. There is science behind this.
There is.
We understand the energetic part of it. We're not here to educate you on physics. However, feel free to look into it yourself. We're just sharing with you the stuff that's been really helpful for us in understanding how the world works and manifesting and just making sense of things.
Or making sense of where we are in every moment.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if we'll ever make sense of all of it, but we can just control and help ourselves make sense of where we are.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we're trying to do here.
Exactly.
And trying to help everybody else do.
Yeah.
Support everyone else while they're doing it too.
Yeah. So like, I guess back to like the matter thing, like my understanding is like, if like everything's vibrational, like nothing is solid. There's still space for which energy can flow between every particle
Right.
of that desk or
Right.
our skin or whatever.
Right.
And that's where we need to be mindful as humans, is that vibrational frequency that we are tuned to. And this concept, I think like you and I talk about it more in terms of like the energetics of love or money. What else is it, something that like is an energetic that can flow to us and through us?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. But for me, something that's kind of come full circle is there are chakras. So
Yeah.
in yoga practice, your energetic sources are called chakras. And there are, I'd have to count, I think 7 or 8 of them. And oh my gosh, I should have written this down, but basically that starts at your root, which
Yes.
is your survival chakra energy center. And that means your need for shelter, food, your basic survival instincts. Okay. And then above that, I believe, is your sacral. Yep. Okay. So your sacral is next. And from what I can remember, that energetic center is about, it's kind of about sex.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know really how else to explain it.
Pleasure, creativity, emotions.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Pleasure, creativity, emotions. The next chakra is your solar plexus.
Yes.
That's in your middle. So these start at the bottom, just so you know, they coincide with your spinal cord. This blows my freaking mind about everything. Again, we're not scientists, we're not doctors, but if you start to do this research, you'll find yourself coming back to everything being the same lesson. Everything's teaching you the same thing.
Yeah.
Your nerves are connected to your spinal cord.
Yeah.
So all of your energy is flowing from this source to signal your body to do other things.
Yeah.
So you start at the root, which is at the bottom of the base of the spine, which is like your tailbone, essentially. Then you move up to the sacral, which is kind of your pelvis. Yep. Which is why pleasure and intimacy are kind of held there. Your solar plexus is right around your midsection. I think of that. What does the definition say for solar plexus?
Strength, ego, power, self-esteem, and digestion.
Yes. So I think of it as always digestion because it's around your midsection, but you're kind of like, I don't want to use the word ego, but like I think of it as the sun, like let your light shine.
Yeah.
So in that way, it's the ego, right?
Yeah.
And then next is your heart chakra. That one's pretty simple and self-explanatory. Above that is your throat. And then, that's where you speak, how you communicate. Above that is your
third eye.
Yep. Third eye's on your forehead. That gives you the ability to see what's going on around you, I think. And then your crown chakra is where you kind of ascend above yourself and you're watching yourself from below.
Yeah. So it says third eye is kind of where where your intuition, like clairvoyance is. And
right.
And then the crown chakra is self-realization, fulfillment, spirituality. So it's kind of like that purpose, that like the thing, the higher power.
It's like consciousness.
Yeah.
Like when you're aware that you
are aware.
Yeah. Right. So to answer your question in that long-winded response, those are all of our energy centers. And they're called different things in different cultures, but they are all the same thing.
Yeah.
So basically, those places are where your energy can flow to and from or can get stuck. Mm-hmm. So as a vessel, the goal is to keep the whole plethora of them open.
Yes.
So that things can flow to and through them. But very, very often they get blocked.
So in that practice and that school of thought with the chakras, what causes blockages and what happens?
Okay. Everyone probably has a different opinion on this, but I'll tell you, in my opinion, the easiest way to recognize a blockage. When something isn't flowing the way that it would if you were healthy. If you're getting up, moving your body around, there's no pain. If you're having conversations with people and you're not replaying it over and over in your head, just sort of think about how life would be if there were no problems. That's a flowing, open vessel. But when you're
ease and flow,
yes. Exactly, and lack of a dwelling and problematic energy.
Yeah.
So that translates differently. So in your root, you can recognize a blockage very quickly if you're worried about money. That's your root chakra. That's where, for our culture today, like back in the day, this was hunting, gathering, food, shelter. Yeah. But now with our culture and the evolution, that boils down to money.
Yeah.
So do we have enough money to survive in this culture? Mm-hmm. Your sacral is when you start to feel worried about kind of like intimacy, or you don't really want to allow yourself pleasure. Yeah. When you don't really feel, when you're not comfortable with pleasure. Yeah. That's a blockage. Mm-hmm. Your solar comes into when your eating habits feel off, when you're under eating, overeating, or when you don't want to be seen, when you feel like you want to hide away. Like think about the sun is bright and lighting and it's illuminating. Yeah. Well, if you have a blockage, you want to go in the dark, you want to hide.
Gotcha.
So then your heart chakra, that one is, in my opinion, everything starts kind of here, even though that's not the structure. Yeah. But your heart is things start there. Yeah. So anytime that someone hurts your feelings, or you feel offended, or your boyfriend, girlfriend says something, does something, mom, dad, and it just if you ever really get there, you can physically feel your little chest hurt. Yeah. And in my opinion, that's where it all starts, and then it filters where it belongs. Yeah. Oh, he doesn't think I'm pretty. I'm not sexy enough. Bam. It starts in the heart. It filters down to the sacral. Yeah. Oh, my employer doesn't think that I am worthy of the raise. And instead of speaking up, I'm going to just let it go. But you're not really letting it go. It's going into the throat. Got it. So then you can't speak. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it shows up in so many ways. Yeah. But it starts in the heart.
So everything that we experience externally is processed through the heart, and then it lands in whatever chakra. I mean, it can block whichever corresponding chakra from there.
Yeah, I think so. But it also, it's in general, it's allowing anything to get stuck and not looking at it, seeing that it happened. And then, like, for example, when we are outside and the neighbor across the street is cutting the grass, we can see that that's happening, but we don't sit around and think about it. We just notice. We don't even tell ourselves in our mind, hey, he's cutting the grass. We just see that he's cutting the grass.
Yeah.
When a blockage happens is when we say, that damn neighbor, he's always cutting the grass at 7 a.m. And then all of a sudden it becomes personal.
Yeah.
And we have to hold it rather than just observing it and letting it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I trusted you would be able to articulate this concept better than me, and you're doing a great job.
Yeah. I think it's kind of difficult to articulate.
It is. And it's one of the things that's a little bit deeper and more complex, but once you start to learn about it and hear it from different perspectives, like for me, like you grasp this more from like the chakra. Like I understood the basic I have a basic understanding of chakras and all that. For me, I think learning more of like the scientific like perspective of quantum physics and all that, like that made more sense to me, like vibrations and frequencies and matter and all of that. If we're all matter particles suspended in this like vibrational frequency, the different energies that we're working with, like love is an energy. It is a currency. It's something that can flow from one to another. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then the same can be said for money.
Words.
Okay.
Words are a currency. They can flow. I think of the love languages as currencies.
Yeah.
So acts of service, that's an energy, an energetic frequency. Affection. Yeah. Physical touch.
Yeah.
Money, which is gifts.
Yeah.
Speech, insight, protection, intuition and protection, like sharing your intuition with someone. All that, in my opinion, is where the flow happens.
I'm glad you mentioned the intuition one, because the intuition is so important with manifesting. That's where you get the next steps, you know. I was just talking to someone this week about the difference between goals and manifesting. I'm going to go on another track for a second, but like a goal is something that you don't have, but you want to achieve, and you can break it down into steps, and you know how to get there.
It's measurable.
Yes. Goal is something that like it's not so far out of reach that you don't know how to get there. Like you can figure out the steps. And then manifesting is more about like matching your frequency with that which you desire. It's less about like actioning your way into getting something. It's more about like trust and growth and attraction. And when you are manifesting, it can sometimes look like a goal, but so back to the vessel and intuition. Intuition is so important, because that's where you're really able to access those steps in manifesting. Whereas when it's a goal, you can figure out the steps on your own.
Yep.
And so when the vessel theory with manifesting, intuition as a vessel for me means that you are in check with all the other parts of yourself in a way. Yeah.
And so because the third eye really is the top before you get to like you've arrived.
Yeah.
So all the rest of the parts of you are in check. So that's the first step. So being at a high vibe. So every time that you have an opportunity to release any other blockage, you release it so that you can get to the level of intuition
where you can you're unblocked, so you can receive messages from a higher power or
That's
something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then the messages do the thing that we just talked about. They come through the heart, and then they take offense to something, so they go somewhere else.
Yeah.
When you're ready to channel intuition as a vessel, you have to completely remove your whole entire self.
Yeah.
You have to be like, this is not about me. This is not something I can explain. This is not a thing I can get offended by. I can't take anything personal. And you have to be like, okay, God, universe, I am literally empty.
Yeah.
For this intuition to be processed.
So that kind of made a light bulb go off for me. Like, I think one of the highest vibrational frequencies is trust.
Yes.
And love is
yes.
right in tandem with that.
Yes.
So you have to be in a unblocked state of love and trust, which is one of the two of the highest frequency, energetic frequencies we can be.
Right.
And then that's where the intuition comes.
Right.
And that's where we can be receiving of that.
Right. And we can have moments of it. You know, there doesn't need to be pressure for us to stay in that. I mean, the goal, the ultimate is that we are never bothered by anything and life just is like flows off of our back.
Yeah.
But it's a practice. Mm-hmm. And so we will have moments of that energetic clarity. And that's when we are the vessel for intuition.
Yeah.
And then you'll know. Have you ever like had a moment where you're like, I don't know where that came from?
Yeah.
Or I don't know why I'm saying this, or I don't know where or how that even got here. Mm-hmm. Or I don't know why I'm supposed to be telling you this, or I don't know why I'm supposed to be driving this direction instead of that direction.
Yeah.
Just those things are moments of intuitive clarity and vesseling and channeling intuition.
Yeah.
And usually it's because you're opening that part to say, okay, I can receive because I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm just ready to like look at
observe.
it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm ready to just observe this.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's in my opinion, the best way to conceptualize intuition.
To me, the way that I visualize the vessel thing is I think of, or a channel. I guess a channel is probably a better word to use.
They're both equal.
Like for me, a channel, I think water. I think of a waterway in which boats can come and go.
Yep.
And then like a dam would be what would clog that waterway.
Exactly.
And then there's no flowing.
Exactly.
And so I think about myself and money, which is one of the things that I've had a harder time being a vessel of. And so for me, it was like I could receive money to some degree, but I would hoard it. And so when it comes to money, like what a healthy relationship would look like is the money would come to me, I would enjoy it, and then I would spend it out of love, like spend it lovingly. And that could mean like letting it go to my friends. It could be spent on things towards my purpose. Like to me, that's what being a good money vessel is. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so literal. It's like I make money and then I spend it on good things, and that's how I'm a healthy vessel. Like to me, it's a little more nuanced, and it's based on like kind of intention and where you are.
It is, and it's a very personal thing.
Yeah.
All of this is very personal. So it's really a good time to explore yourself and what your relationships are and what your values are, and be in line with those in order to open as a vessel.
Yeah.
It's not one size fits all completely. I mean, there's some basic truths like, no harm, non-harming.
Yeah.
There are basic truths, but outside of those, it's really very individual to your purpose and your values, and it's private in a way, like it's something that you have with yourself that you have to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what do I feel about this? But with money, a good example for me, that light bulb moment for me when I was a kid that just helped me understand was my mom. We would giggle about my stepdad, but we would giggle because he's so cheap. Like to go to a restaurant, he's like $15 for a burger. And so me and my mom would be like, oh my God, we're not bringing you anymore because we can't enjoy, and we would all laugh and giggle and go home happy. But it was funny. And so my mom would say or says, closed fist, think about that.
Yeah.
You're holding on to your money so tightly and people get focused on that. And it's like, okay, well, look at your fist. Guess what else? Can't come in. You want to let it go.
Perfect.
Can't come in.
Perfect illustration of the money vessel.
If you take $100 bill, fold it in your palm, and literally put your fist around it, grab it, hold it, You're like, I got this $100. Nobody's taking this from me. This is mine. But guess what? If someone wants to hand you 1,000, you can't receive it because your fist is so tightly closed around the 100.
Yep.
So that's what we mean by vessel, right?
Yes.
Allowing like, okay, maybe the 100 can go, but the 1,000 can come. But if you're not willing to let the 100 pass through, you're going to continue to block and be closed to the 1,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so like, I think part of the channel vessel theory concept that we're trying to talk about is it's a practice. It's something that like probably doesn't come naturally to humans to just kind of open and be a vessel. Maybe we were born that way, but then like as life happens, there's certain places that we start closing off and we quit. Or maybe we can receive, but we can't give, or we can give it, but we can't receive it kind of thing.
Yep. We weren't born with it as humans, but we start to close off throughout time. And then because of that, we're unable.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like a practice that we have to like relearn, you know? And so it's something that you start small with, you know, and then you work your way up into bigger, better things. And that's a part of, it's almost a universal law, you know?
Like, it is a universal law.
Yeah.
This is the law.
Yes, you're right.
This is exactly what this is all about. But breaking it down on these levels is kind of hard to hear because it's like, don't take things personal. What? Like that's total opposite of everything society tells us to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely something that takes a practice.
It's anybody that I've truly admired that has financial success, they practice this and they are willing to receive. They're in their worth to receive. They're on the energetic frequency to be able to receive a lot of money.
Right.
They're also in the energetic frequency to trust that they're going to get more when they let it flow through them.
Right.
And that's like everything that I was trying to bring to the table today. What I just said,
Yeah.
And so it takes practice. And some of us, maybe we're in our worth with love or money or self-esteem, but we're not in other aspects of our lives.
Exactly.
But the coolest part of this concept is, in my personal experience, is where I have identified energetic blockages, where I have not been a channel for something to flow through in one aspect of my life. It used to be more on the love aspect of things.
Right.
And once I started to do the unblocking and start to be able to receive and let it flow through me, I started to notice that my relationship with money was kind of also getting a little bit better. So these different energies that we're talking about that we want to flow to us and through us, if you can strengthen your trust muscle in one aspect, a lot of times it will almost like naturally apply to the other energies.
It will.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of, I think it's hard to see it that way sometimes because we want so badly to categorize and compartmentalize and be experts at one thing.
Yeah.
We want to be like this thing. We want to be labels so bad.
Yeah.
And so it's a change. It's a shift in your mentality because what you just said is key. You must be willing to open all vessels for any of them to heal.
Yes.
You cannot just heal one.
Yeah.
It's like spot reduction when you work out. Like it just doesn't work that way. You have to be willing to use the whole body to get in shape.
Yes.
If you want good abs, you have to still be able to move your full body to get good abs.
Yes.
It's the same thing. You have to be willing to release all of the blockages to master any of them.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So are you familiar with the law of reciprocity?
No. I mean, tell me.
Yeah, there's like 11 or 12 laws that are kind of common in different cultures, like through history, like ancient Egypt and Hawaiian cultures and Native Americans and all this stuff. And there's 11 or 12 like universal laws, and like the law of attraction is on that list, which is this kind of like what you put out is what you attract. The law of reciprocity is pretty similar. Law of attraction is more about like energetically what you put out is what you attract. The law of reciprocity is what you give out is what you receive back.
Yes.
And for me, that this one kind of applies to what we're talking about, the law of reciprocity. You know, you have to give what you want to receive. And for me, that's like a really good unblocking practice for becoming that channel, and a great first step. But I recommend anyone whose interest is piqued on this subject or wants to dig deeper, look into the law of reciprocity, or it's also been called the law of compensation. But it applies to this subject really beautifully, and there's a lot of great resources online that can help you kind of illustrate it and find ways to apply it. But you and I were talking about this in the last podcast, or maybe the one before it, about, you know, giving what we want to receive. And for me, that's such a basic, easy way to start to get into your higher vibrational frequency, and start to attract and manifest what it is that you're really missing.
Right.
Have you ever had any like good experiences with that? Like the law of reciprocity? Like have you ever felt an unblocking?
Oh yeah.
Like that you could pinpoint. It's like once you unblocked this, you saw the flow happen.
Yeah. I mean, I can give you probably a couple examples. The first thing that came to mind, which is super simple and super tangible, which would be easy to understand.
Yeah.
When I was on the search for a beach property, I just knew what I had to have.
Yeah.
And there was this property that I had put under contract, and it was just a freaking nightmare. Like, it would not work.
Yeah.
Everything about it was just no. And for me, I was like, yes, like, you know, I'm not willing to give this up. I'm not willing to release. And the moment that I said, you know what, I might walk away and have no beach property this year.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm willing to give this up. I terminated the contract. I walked away, and I kid you not, in the same neighborhood, as I was driving away from the property, a woman was putting a for sale sign in front of the house that I ended up buying.
Oh my gosh.
And it was not what I thought I wanted. It's not what I thought what it would look like, but it was a literal, like, okay, you are willing to give it up and let it go, and bam, here it is.
Yeah.
As far as like giving something to receive something, the thing that comes to mind is, I talk with a friend of mine about this often. She calls it gift economy.
Yeah.
And here's a perfect example. Okay. I have a residential client whom I've helped throughout the years. Well, I just helped her again last year. And when it was all said and done and the deal was done, she sent me a bonus check. And I was like, what is this for? You know, like, we agreed on the fee. And she said, well, 5 years ago, when I had no money, you did this for me for next to nothing. And I want you to know I have this now, and I want you to have it.
Oh.
And it was essentially the commission that she would have paid me 5 years I had forgotten. I didn't even know what she was talking about.
Oh, I love
I didn't
that.
remember that I had given her a break, or that I was able to help her work with her.
Yeah.
I had no recollection.
Yeah.
And it was just like tears, tears.
Yeah.
And I was like, because it came at such a good time for me too. I mean, of course it always does. So that maybe is a more relevant example of reciprocity.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's perfect. And for me, like, I think with the reciprocity category within this conversation, a lot of times it's not necessarily like direct, you know, like, it's not like I gave a homeless person $20 and then somebody the next day gave me $20,
right,
you know?
Right.
Sometimes
it can happen like that, but yeah.
Like, I started to kind of put this concept to the test a couple years ago when I was going through a hard time and like just really trying to action my way out of it before I learned about acceptance and how that probably would have made it easier. But anyway, like, one of the action steps that I took that actually did help was, I was trying to give what I was wanting to receive. And I was in this brief relationship. It was with this like, it was amazing. Like, it was very short. It
Yeah.
was bad timing, but it was good while it lasted. And Valentine's Day was approaching, and I knew like that was probably going to be the
end.
Yeah. So I'm living in a different city, and I don't have a lot of friends. I know some people here and there, and so I'm like, the week leading up to when I knew like Valentine's Day is probably going to be when we have to say, okay, we're not ready to go to the next level. Yeah. We're not going to be celebrating Valentine's Day. We're probably going to part ways. Right. You know, I went every day to Walmart and started buying like a bunch of random crap to give to my friends for Valentine's Day. Yeah. Because I enjoy crafting. I do not want anybody to ever feel like I knew I was probably going to feel on that Friday when it was Valentine's Day.
I see.
So I went and I ended up making like 10 or 15 gift bags just filled with Valentine's Day stuff, and I made brownies and Rice Krispie treats and all this stuff, and I just was like the freaking Santa Claus of Valentine's Day.
The Valentine's bunny.
Yeah. And I went and I every single person I knew in that city that I lived in, which was not a lot, and then some strangers, I gave them Valentine's. And there was nothing that I could like directly like trace back to that, like, you know, I don't know what I received in response to that, but I do know like I would have much rather been tuned to that energetic frequency of at least enjoying like crafting and blessing others and whatever. And that like helped me it ease the blow of the kind of disappointment and sadness for what I knew was coming.
Yeah, maybe like the thing that I hear and that I know and that I think is really important is exactly what you just said. It's giving, but it's also the act of giving is also a release.
Yeah.
And that's really important, you know, because
there's giving with attachment.
That's right. And that is not what we're talking about. That's exactly what I'm saying. We are giving, even though the law applies, it's not giving with attachment. And that's what it was the intention was to show love, to create love, because your heart was hurting. Yeah. And you were giving love probably always, but it was more of an outward showing of the love that you had to give. Yeah. And that's why it was successful. Yeah. Is because that's where it came from. When you give with attachment, you're going to get that back. And you don't want that. Yeah. Trust me. Yeah. That's where we go into all that other stuff.
Well, yes, giving with expectations. That expectation is a blockage to the flow. Right. The expectation is the opposite. Acceptance allows you to be a channel.
That's right.
Release is a channel.
That's right.
Expectation is an attachment, and that blocks the channel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, in order to get to that place where you can be a channel, you have to be willing to release everything. All of it. All of it.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You're hitting the nail on the head.
We are. You got it's been some fire over here today.
Well, are we ready for the interview?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Alrighty. Each week on Manifesting with Morgan and Madeline, we feature an interview with someone who followed their dreams and leveled up, personally or professionally, against all odds. We share these interviews to inspire our listeners and demonstrate that anything is possible. What is your name, age, city, and profession?
My name's Mariel Hamer. I am 25. I live in Savannah, Georgia, and I am a project designer at an architecture firm.
So, what were the circumstances leading up to your big change?
My big change was taking a leap of faith and moving out of my home city of Charlotte to come to the city I'd always dreamed of living in, which is Savannah, Georgia. I've always wanted to live here since I was little, and I've always wanted to work with historic buildings in this historic context specifically. So I decided to go to school in state for architecture school for financial security, and I ended up staying in the same city that I grew up in, just It's a coincidence that they had the best program in the state for architecture. So I also was able to leading up to getting my master's degree in architecture, I was able to get an awesome work study scholarship while I was studying. And their intention was kind of to groom me to work following graduation, but they weren't really doing the kind of work that I wanted to do. But, they offered me a nice scholarship and it made it worth it. But unfortunately, during this work study scholarship, I also became entangled with one of my coworkers. So that made it especially difficult to kind of make this leap to another city following graduation. But I maintained my intention of moving to Savannah throughout my whole life and throughout studying in Charlotte. And I always stayed vigilant of positions opening up, especially around the time when I was graduating, which was set for May 2020. And we all know what happened that spring. So before the whole world shut down, I was able to secure a kind of questionable roommate in an okay apartment and a job at a well-established firm in Savannah. And I had everything set up that I had been manifesting my whole life following graduation. And even with all this, for whatever reason, I was still not excited to move to Savannah. For some reason, even though I'd manifested this my entire life, but there's something off and something didn't feel right about what I was looking forward to doing once I graduated. And so I announced to my internship in Charlotte that I was going to be moving to Savannah, and this was about mid-April 2020. And that same day, I get a call from the firm that I got an offer from in Savannah, and they said that due to COVID and, the unprecedented nature of everything, they were going to have to rescind my offer. And I was devastated, but a little relieved. And I had to scramble to get out of my lease that I signed in Savannah, awkwardly begged for my job back in Charlotte, and sit with the fact that I was going to be trapped in an unfulfilling relationship with my coworker, a job that wasn't in line with what I wanted to do, and these life circumstances of COVID indefinitely. And fortunately, my job was able to take me back. They weren't able to really give me much work, so I was kind of sitting around miserable, doing nothing. And then luckily, my kind sister, Morgan, gave me pretty cheap rent, so money wasn't that much of an issue. And I just started to make peace with what was going to be my present reality was that I was stuck in Charlotte and with a job that was a flight risk, and my overly COVID precautious friends that weren't hanging out with me, and a boyfriend that didn't like me. So.
By the way, this is my sister that I'm interviewing. if you haven't been able to put that together, but I wanted to include your story because it was really impressive that you had a lot of curveballs thrown at you. You had this vision that you've held your whole life, and you ended up getting there. But like, how did you stay motivated and focused? Like, how did you finally get to the finish line and end up getting to Savannah?
Well, so it was hard to not be a little full of despair, just with how everything was so up in the air that summer of 2020. Like, nothing was normal. It was hard to grasp any sort of reality when the whole world was going through this crisis. So I just honestly kind of just went on autopilot and just kind of got sucked in to the bigger picture world around me, and just was like, this isn't the things that are happening right now, and forces that are happening that are greater than me, and I just need to ride with them, and I was going to get through it. And it was rough. I ended up kind of convincing myself that a life in Charlotte was okay. It was good enough, and I still stayed vigilant for anything that was opening in Savannah, and I followed all the firms in town. I just made sure to keep track of what was going on just in case something did happen. But, most people weren't hiring for months right after the lockdowns. So it was just kind of just kept headstrong and keep moving forward.
Did you use any books or podcasts? Did you have any resources that you used to kind of lean on during that time to stay motivated?
Not really. Fortunately, I think I just dived into the news and just tried to, as everyone did, like just self-medicate with anything that wasn't related to reality, just because everything was just so bleak at this time that I just wanted escapism from my unfortunate reality as much as like everyone else's during this time. So lots of Netflix and Sex in the City.
Oh, did you? Yes, I recall. Did you have any pushback from anybody in this transition?
Well, so I definitely know our mother kept making excuses. She was like, well, why don't you just stay with your boyfriend here? He's got a nice house. Like, you've got a good job. Like, you shouldn't, that's so far away. You're too young to be moving. I mean, you've got such a nice setup here. And I had that in my ear and then the other pushback was being in a year-long relationship. You kind of don't want to give up that, even if it's not good, out of comfort and fear of good change. So that was pushing me back for sure.
So what made you finally rip the Band-Aid and just take the leap?
Well, so there was no job offers for months after the initial lockdown, but around the end of the summer, I see this firm that I've been following that I, spoiler alert, now work for, post an ad that they were hiring, and I reached out, secured a online interview, a phone conference, and then they reached out and they told me that they wanted me to come visit, and they were going to pay for my accommodations. They put me in one of the nicest hotels in town. Super excited at this point. First time that I was really excited about Savannah before I even started the whole process, because again, when I was initially starting this process, I was in that relationship that I wasn't happy with, but I was stuck in, and I just felt bound to it. I felt bound to Charlotte, and I just was so fearful of making that leap, especially during these times. And I don't have any friends in Savannah. So I reached out and I came down to Savannah. I brought two of my good friends with me because they had a mutual friend in town that was actually an architect that they introduced me with. We stayed with him. And so I got to meet some people in Savannah. For the first time, I felt like I was developing this secure base in Savannah where I knew people. I ended up finding a really awesome apartment when I was down here during this initial interview. It was my dream apartment. It's an 1852 townhome. The kind of everything that I had manifested for myself was coming into the picture. And also the same week that the firm reached out to me to come visit, the firm that had took back my offer in Savannah during COVID, did I mention all that stuff?
Yeah, that the offer was rescinded when the bottom fell out with COVID. So they reached out to you too at the same time.
Yeah, so they reached out to me. So I had people wanting me to go to Savannah. I made friends with my Airbnb host who introduced me to a bunch of people in town, all in this same visit. And I ended up staying. My Airbnb host was so kind; he let me stay with him for an extra week because I was working remotely, and I was working 5 hours a week at this point because my job in Charlotte had nothing to offer me. So I got to really spend time with Savannah by myself, and it was just I fell in love with the city all over again, and I was so excited to make that leap. And as soon as I got back and I got that offer, I made plans to immediately come back here, I basically had my boyfriend in Charlotte help me move here. And then I broke up with him. I knew I was just ready to start my life here, and I haven't looked back since.
And you ended up manifesting a better man soon after.
Yeah.
Well, not better, but you know, more aligned. Yeah, with the same name as the last boyfriend. How convenient.
So I'm in a job that makes me extremely happy. I'm doing the work that I've been wanting to do my whole life. I'm in my dream apartment. I am in the most healthy relationship I've ever been in, and all of that thanks to this leap of faith.
Well, so what's a major lesson? What's something that you can share with others from this story that they might be able to learn from? Like, what's a good take-home message?
I think for me, thematically, I think my story is a lot with resistance to change. You're always going to find things are always going to be pushing back on you, and you're always going to want to settle for just good enough when you were destined for greatness. Or I felt like I was destined for a greater life than the one I was living. But settling started to look easy and looked like my reality. But just always, like, your present might not be great, but always be mindful, enjoy where you are, but also look for opportunities and manifest those opportunities to come your way.
Yeah,
they will come.
Keep your eye on the ball. That's what I'm getting from all of this. You stayed focused, you got distracted, and then that discomfort that was caused by letting yourself settle got so great that you're like, screw it, I'm just gonna take the leap of faith. And you did, and you got blessed beyond your imagination. So I'm proud of you, little sister. Well, thank you for sharing your story, and I will talk to you soon.
Can I share with you what I got from that?
Yes, queen.
Okay, so as it applies to our topic this week, what I got was that she knew that what she was doing wasn't really where she wanted to be, and she was resistant to the change.
Yes.
And that's the blockage.
Yep.
Is when we hear a pull or feel a pull or hear a voice and we ignore it, or we say no, or we close. We don't remain open to like explore and stay curious with that.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from? Why am I feeling this? Who's saying this to me? Do I trust that this is where, why is it leading me this way?
Yeah.
So when she closed off, it kind of like, and then the moment that she released and she realized things have to change.
Yeah.
It's going to change.
Yes.
Change has to happen.
Yes.
For growth.
Mm-hmm.
Then it flowed.
Yeah.
And the universe just dumped it on her.
I know.
Like, pew, 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 pew. Blessing bombs.
So you
flying all around.
Like, think about this, because I know you and I have been all over the place professionally and with our love lives and everything. Yeah. I mean, we've had to like touch a lot of hot stoves and get burned to get where we are today. Like, my sister she's known what she wanted to do and since high school or middle school.
She referenced that many times.
Yeah, so. It's like she knew she had enough clarity to know and to go after it. Yeah. And so there's like a lot of momentum, which to me equals magnetism with manifesting. She was true to herself. She was true to her callings. Like, she was very unblocked when it came to that.
Right.
And then right at the finish line, when she's about to get her first job, she gets a boyfriend, a good, serious, year-long relationship. She gets kind of a very comfortable job and offer in Charlotte, and like a lot of like she's like getting tested, like, are you really serious about this thing that you've been focused on? Yeah. And so it's just crazy because 2 years ago, right tomorrow is when everything shut down.
Wow.
So we all got like halted, and she thought she was gonna be graduating college and getting an architecture job, and then that was something that was beyond her control that happened,
Yeah.
But then once things started happening, she started questioning, like, do I even want to do this anymore? And I'm like, girl.
Yeah.
And then once she got back in alignment with like what her vision was, and that's when the flow came. And it's just like 1, 2, 3, got the place, got the job, got the whatever.
But she was willing to let it go.
Yeah.
That's what needed to happen for her to be unblocked.
Yeah.
All the things that she thought, all the ideas, all the, yellow brick road fairy tale endings she had, I'm sure, created in her head a million times.
Yeah.
She got to the point that she said, okay, you know what? This might not happen.
Yeah.
This might not be what happens. And that's where the freedom is when you are not attached and you're willing to let go.
And just be a vessel and trust, let it come.
Exactly. Yep. Because remember the money thing, you got to let go of the 100 to receive the 1,000.
Have a palm.
You have to have an open palm. Exactly. Yeah. You have to.
Yeah.
And, when we do that, going back to the giving from you're not showing up and giving and opening for self-serving reasons. You're not there.
That's attachment.
Correct. Yeah. You're not attached to the outcome. You're not greedy.
Yes.
You're not saying, I want money because I'm greedy. You're saying, you're not in company because you can get something from that person. You're saying, I'm just an open vessel and I'm going to see what happens and I'm here to enjoy life.
Yeah.
I'm here to enjoy these people.
But you can go you could do something because it feels good and it lights you up.
Yeah.
That's not like selfish,
No.
That's love. That's like high vibration.
But you're not doing it because you are going to get an external return that is coming from outside of you.
Yeah.
You're not saying, I'm going to go to dinner with this person because they're very well connected and therefore what can I get from them?
Yeah.
You're saying, you know what? I took interest in this person. They took interest in me and I'm going to go with an open heart and an open mind and enjoy. I want to hear about them. I want to know about them.
Yeah.
And you're releasing any expectation from that. And therefore you're enjoying your life.
Yeah.
Because if you go home, if you go to that dinner with an expectation that this person is going to, perfect example, what she said, her Airbnb host of all people ended up being the person to introduce her to people in town.
Yeah.
That you don't go to Airbnb with that expectation.
Yeah.
You go to Airbnb to stay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect example. Look what blessed her in that way.
Because she was open.
Because she was open and she didn't have any
hidden agenda. Yeah.
Yes. Manipulation, hidden agenda, expectation, attachment, whatever.
Yeah.
So in order to be a vessel, you have to be willing to understand that self-serving acts are not going to serve you.
Yeah.
Now, loving yourself and doing things that make you feel good and are happy, that's different.
Yeah.
But that comes from within and that serves from within.
Yeah.
Not externally.
Yeah.
Not another person is going to fulfill me. Not I'm lonely, so I'm going to go use a person at a bar.
Yeah.
No. It says, I'm lonely, but I love myself and I'm going to go spend some time with myself and I'm going to happen to be at a bar. And then if a person opens up to talk to you, then you're blessed with the company of that conversation.
Yeah.
It's not because you expected it or you are using them to fulfill something. It's not an external use to fulfill an internal problem.
Yep.
Know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm big on that, obviously. Passionate. I just think it's really, really, really important to make that very clear of the understanding. Like you have to let go to be a channel, to be a vessel.
Yeah.
You have to.
Because that's the blockage.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to say something that I know a lot of people are probably thinking. When you start delving into this service heart, as people who have been programmed differently, something that comes up, I think, is, well, what, am I just supposed to be a doormat? What, am I just supposed to let people walk all over me? Am I just supposed to turn the other cheek every time? Like, no, I have to stand up for myself. And we're not saying don't do that. But here's the thing. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, like it or don't, the reality, the truth is, you absolutely must be willing to let go of anything that has offended you in order to be a vessel to show love to other people.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And that is like mind blowing.
Yeah.
For a lot of people who want to hold on to the pain. We want to remember
the grudges.
We want to hold the grudges.
Yes.
We want to remember who hurt us and how they hurt us and why they hurt us. And we want to hold it over their head. And
well, I mean, rationally, it kind of makes sense.
It does.
Like, yeah, because we got to put barriers against those people and whatnot.
Right. Boundaries are okay, but holding on is not. They're two different things. My action step that seems really simple, but I like to simplify and I like to make things physical. So it starts for me with traffic. And that might seem really silly, but the reason that it starts with traffic is because I'm in my car all the time. And most of us think of a thing that you do all the time. Maybe it's not that you're in your car. Maybe it's you're washing your dishes.
Yeah.
Something that you do daily. But every time you do that thing, you remind yourself, I'm going to let it go.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I'm going to let it go.
Yeah.
And you just start to get your brain to accept the fact that you're going to prepare to let go of some stuff. And in the car, it becomes really literal because you're getting cut off. People are honking at you. I don't drive well. Just kidding. And, I'm not engaging in that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let my peace be moved because someone else has road rage. And letting that go keeps me open to be a vessel so that when I arrive safely, I can bless someone else. If I'm pissed off about the traffic when I get there, how can I help the other person?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? That's my action step.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, mine are really simple this time. Just pay attention to where you feel called to serve others and follow that.
I love that.
And then make a list of things that you're desiring or that you want to manifest, or right next to that list, write ways that you can pay it forward and put that energy out to the world.
That's it. I love it.
Yeah.
It is really that simple. We overcomplicate. It's not that hard.
But it feels like magic. Once you start to play with
it is magic.
I mean, but you feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel it.
You feel and you can with the wizard with the wand, with your life.
Well, that's right. And you can feel this really instantly too.
Yeah.
That's something this doesn't have to be delayed gratification. The moment you just start with something tiny, like somebody cutting you off in traffic, just something small.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Release it.
Yeah.
Forgive it. Don't hold it. Don't think about it. Don't dwell on it. Don't get angry over it. Don't try to make sense of it.
Turn on your favorite song on the radio.
Yeah.
Listen to our podcast. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Wow. It was a good session.
Yes, queen.
Thank y'all for listening.